Today we're going to be testing and reviewing the Uniview 4-megapixel dual lens bullet camera. Along the way, we'll showcase the features and answer the question, who is this camera meant for and should you buy it? This camera is quite unusual. It's actually two cameras stitched together to form one image. On the front, we find two 4mm lenses which have a wide f1.0 aperture. There are also two white light LEDs and two microphones. At the bottom of the camera, we have a micro SD card slot and a speaker. After installing the camera, the first thing I wanted to see was how clear the image was. This camera can read license plates within about 30 feet, after which point the image becomes too blurry. People and vehicles are captured with clear detail, which becomes sharper near the middle of the view. Compared to a standard 2.8mm camera, we lose a bit of height, but gain a much wider field of view. This allows us to capture footage that we normally wouldn't see with a standard camera. For example, here's a cat bravely staring down a vehicle, forcing them to make a sharp turn to get past. And here's the same cat over on the right side of the parking lot. What's he doing over there? With a 2.8mm camera, we can't see, but with the 4-megapixel dual lens, we can see that the cat was actually getting attention from a delivery driver. Here's footage of a car passing by in the early morning. It's completely dark outside, but the video from the camera is still clear and colorful. On the web interface, we find that this camera only supports motion detection and human body detection. It does not support the usual VCA features, such as crossline, intrusion, or motor vehicle detection. As well, enabling human body detection lowers the frame rate of the camera from 25 to 20 FPS. In the image settings menu, we have a new option on this camera called spline distance. This adjusts the gap in the middle of the camera where the two cameras are stitched together. Setting it below 10 results in a slightly double image effect, while setting it above 10 squishes the image in the middle, losing some of the information. I suggest leaving this on the default setting unless you have any issues. This camera also supports two-way audio. It has two microphones and a large speaker, allowing for better audio than a standard Uniview camera. Here's how it sounds outside.
This is the audio from Uniview 4-megapixel dual lens camera. Testing, 1, 2, 3. This is the audio from Uniview 4-megapixel turret camera. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
For fun, we also tried playing music through the camera. I thought it sounded pretty good, but let me know what you think. Okay, so I'm going to start the audio now. Okay, now let's move on to a more serious topic. Who is this camera made for, and should you buy it? To be honest, I was not a fan of this camera when it first came out earlier this year. First of all, it's limited to 160 degrees, when most consumers are looking for a 180-degree camera. This makes it difficult to sell, without even talking about the pricing or features. My initial thought was, it's better to buy two cameras and install them at opposing angles than to buy one of the 4-megapixel dual lens camera. That would provide a full 180-degree coverage with slightly better image quality for around the same price. However, after testing the camera, I realized there was one thing I forgot to consider. It can be extremely useful to have one large wide image versus two separate smaller images. For example, with this camera, you can follow the path of a vehicle or person without needing to switch between multiple cameras. And if you wanted to broadcast a sports event, this would allow you to capture all the action in one view. For most people, I would still recommend buying two separate cameras if you want to capture multiple different views. But if you need to see everything with one camera, then the 4-megapixel dual lens bullet camera is a great choice.